Imagine being judged by your uniform, your accent, your silence, asterisk in a luxury restaurant in the heart of the USA. A billionaire tried to humiliate a waitress by speaking a rare foreign language it's certain she wouldn't understand. But what he didn't know was that she carried a past far more powerful than his wealth. Her calm reply didn't just shock the room. It set off a chain of events that would change both their lives forever. Asterisk like, share, and subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. Now, let's get started. The restaurant was one of those places in Manhattan where silence itself felt expansive. Crystal glasses caught the light just right, and conversations stayed low, measured, careful not to disturb the atmosphere of wealth. Sarah Bennett moved between tables, with practiced ease, her expression calm, almost distant. To most guests, she was invisible in the way waitresses often are noticed, only when something was needed. But beneath the neutral smile was a mind trained in lecture halls, not dining rooms. Each step she took was deliberate, hiding exhaustion. From nights spent worrying about hospital bills and her father's condition back home in Boston, tonight was just another shift, she told herself. Another evening of endurance. Asterisk she approached a corner table where a man sat alone, scrolling through his phone as if the room belonged to him. His watch was unmistakably rare, his suit tailored to announce status without saying a word. When Sarah greeted him in polite American English, he barely acknowledged her. Instead, he looked up slowly, eyes scanning her uniform, her accent, her posture. A faint smile curled on his lips, one that wasn't friendly. Without warning, he switched languages, speaking in an obscure, aristocratic French dialect. His tone exaggerated, performative. A few nearby diners glanced over, sensing something off. He was testing her, measuring her worth, already convinced of the outcome. Asterisk for a moment, Sarah simply listened. She recognized the dialect, instantly old, precise, rarely spoken outside academic circles. It carried memories of long nights in Paris libraries, of professors who demanded perfection, of debates that shaped how she understood power and ethics. The man expected confusion, maybe a nervous laugh, perhaps an apology. Instead, Sarah lifted her gaze, her eyes steady. She answered him in the same dialect, her pronunciation effortless, her grammar exact. She even corrected a subtle misuse of a phrase, not sharply, but gently, as one scholar to another. The surrounding tables fell quiet, curiosity spreading through the room. Asterisk the man froze. His confident posture stiffened, his smirk fading as reality caught up with him. He had wanted to dominate the moment, to reduce her to silence. Instead, the balance shifted. Sarah continued calmly, repeating his order with elegance, her voice controlled, unshaken. She didn't raise it, didn't seek attention yet. All eyes were on them now. The laughter he had hoped for never came. What filled the space instead was discomfort, heavy and undeniable. He had mistaken her uniform for her identity, and in doing so, revealed far more about himself than he ever intended. Asterisk, as Sarah stepped back from the table, her hands remained steady, though her heart beat faster than usual. She had learned long ago that dignity was not something granted by others. It was something you carried, even when life stripped everything else away. The man sat in silence, staring at his glass, his sense of superiority quietly unraveling. This was supposed to be a harmless moment of amusement for him. He had no idea it was only the beginning, and that a single reply, spoken in the right language, had already changed the direction of what would follow. The man avoided eye contact as Sarah returned with his water. But the tension at the table hadn't eased. His earlier confidence had been replaced by a careful stillness, the kind that comes when someone realizes they've underestimated the room. Sarah noticed the change, but didn't react to it. She had learned restraint in classrooms, far harsher than this restaurant. As she placed the glass down, he finally spoke, this time in English, asking, almost cautiously, where she had learned French like that. His question wasn't curious anymore, it was defensive. Sarah met his gaze briefly and answered simply, without pride or apology, letting her calm speak for itself. Asterisk when she mentioned the Sorbonne, his fingers tightened around the rim of the glass. The name landed heavier than she expected. He asked more questions, now unable to hide his interest, and Sarah answered only what was necessary. She told him she had been a doctoral researcher, focused on corporate accountability and ethical power structures. Around them, the restaurant noise returned, but at their table, the world felt suspended. The man's face had gone pale. He recognized the field instantly because years earlier, a critical academic paper had threatened his company's reputation, before mysteriously disappearing from public discussion. Asterisk Sarah didn't know his name, but she saw recognition flicker in his eyes. It was the look of someone confronted by a past they believed buried. She explained quietly that her research had stalled after a family emergency pulled her back to the United States. A hit-and-run accident in Boston had left her father paralyzed. His care, constant and expensive. Teaching fellowships didn't cover hospital bills. Pride had to make room for survival. Waiting tables became a means, not a definition. She didn't dramatize it. She didn't ask for sympathy. She simply stated the truth and stepped back, giving him space to sit with it. He paid his bill early, leaving an unusually large tip but no comment. The gesture felt less like generosity and more like an attempt to regain control. Sarah cleared the table after he left, her shift continuing as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Yet something had shifted beneath the surface. Weeks later, a former colleague reached out, telling her that an old thesis had resurfaced online in hers. It was being shared, cited, questioned. Investigations followed. Names once untouchable began appearing in headlines. Sarah watched from a distance, not with triumph, but with a quiet sense of balance. Restored. She kept working, still wearing the same uniform, still caring for her father. But opportunities slowly returned. Guest lectures, consultations, conversations, long overdue. The man from the restaurant faded into the background, his power no longer absolute. Sarah understood then that dignity didn't need an audience, and justice didn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes, it began with a single reply spoken calmly, at the right moment, reminding the world that intelligence, once dismissed, has a way of finding its voice again.